Hi, Becky. Thank you so much for joining us today for the interview. Would you be able to give us a brief introduction about yourself?
Yes, of course. My name is Rebecca Sanders. I am the chair and co-founder of Lipodystrophy UK, which is the only UK charity supporting people affected by lipodystrophy. I myself am a scientist. I'm a molecular biologist, which really helps actually with understanding lipodystrophy and the research that's done in that area. So that's very beneficial.
And can you tell us what type of lipodystrophy do you have?
So I have familial partial lipodystrophy type 2, Dunninghan variety, and that's probably one of the most common heritable forms of lipodystrophy. It means that I have partial fat loss in certain areas of the body with redistribution of fat to other areas.
And what do you feel has been the biggest impact on you with living with lipodystrophy?
So there are many things about lipodystrophy that have had a major impact on my daily life. Mainly living with a chronic disease is a very difficult thing for most people that would be affected with a chronic disease. It's the kind of thing that impacts every aspect of your daily life. And it means sometimes planning ahead can be difficult. Some of the symptoms that I probably struggle with the most are fatigue, and that really does impact what I can do on a daily basis and how present I can be in a situation, and also hyperphagia, which is hunger. That's something that patients really struggle with. I'm fortunate enough to be on treatment that curtails that, but until I was on that treatment, um, hunger was overwhelming and really took over every aspect of my daily life.
So when were you diagnosed and how long did your diagnosis journey take?
So I was quite fortunate in the sense that my diagnostic journey was really quite quick, which is not what is normally seen in the community. So I was diagnosed when I was 17, and I had been referred to endocrinology because my menstrual cycle had stopped basically. And that was why I was sent for further investigation. And I was really fortunate that the endocrinologist I saw was aware of now Professor Sir Stephen O'Reilly and his work in lipodystrophy, and so contacted Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, where Professor Sir Stephen O'Reilly is based, and asked whether or not this strange case that he had of a young lady with unusual symptoms, could be tested for lipodystrophy. So in all, it probably took about 6 months for my diagnosis, which I am aware I am extremely fortunate for. Most people with rare diseases, and not just lipodystrophy, but other rare diseases, can have an average diagnostic journey of 7 or more years. And actually with partial lipodystrophy, it can be even longer because the symptoms are often mistaken for other conditions. So for example, Cushing's disease, just uncontrolled diabetes, and there are people in their 40s, 50s, 60s before they get their diagnosis. So I appreciate that I'm very fortunate in that.
And what coping strategies would you say you use to kind of cope in your day-to-day living with lipodystrophy?
So as I said previously, day-to-day living is always impacted by lipodystrophy, and there are a number of things that result from that. So as I mentioned, fatigue is something that I really struggle with, and lots of people in our community do. That is something that impacts my daily life because, for example, I can be present and be at work and be functional, but by when I get home, then I don't have much reserve for anything else. And so I often spend a lot of my downtime, catching up on sleep, etc., which can be quite frustrating because it means you don't have the time for social activities. One of the things that's been quite important to recognize is that it's okay to be limited in what energy reserves that I have. And there's something called spoon theory, which has been quite helpful, which essentially says that you have a limited number of spoons, which represent energy and ability to kind of do activities. And that when you've used up all your spoons, you don't have the energy to do additional activities. And there's some activities that will take half a spoon or 1 spoon of energy, whereas other more energetic pursuits will take 2 or 3 or 4 spoons. And so it's learning not only to balance that, but also not to hold yourself, blame yourself for not being able to be more present in more situations, because you're just beyond the capacity of what you can do for that particular day or that week. And I think that's been quite an eye-opener in accepting what my limitations are, and taking some of the blame away, which has been quite difficult in the past. Also, I think it's really important to surround yourself with people that understand you and understand maybe the limitations of your condition. So that can be difficult for people with family and friends that have no personal experience of the condition themselves. And I think that's something that I've really benefited from with the charity and the community groups that we have established because of the charity, because obviously other people within the lipodystrophy community get it. They understand, the same struggles, they're going through the same things, and being able to talk to people that have shared experience is really empowering. And that's something I'm really proud that we've been able to offer to others, because it's certainly made a massive difference to me and my well-being.
So what would you like others to know about you and what it's like living with lipodystrophy?
So I think it's really important for people to understand, and not just about rare diseases, but about all aspects of people in society, is to have tolerance and acceptance of people that are different. And actually it's the differences that make life interesting, that make life beautiful. And it's for people to have a tolerance of something that would be considered different from society's perception of what is good or what is not so good. I think, unfortunately, we currently live in a society that is so focused on body image and appearance, and that can be really detrimental to all people in society, but particularly for people with illnesses that mean occasionally they have a different appearance than what would be considered kind of this the ideal body shape, etc. And it's really detrimental to people's mental health. And I think it's really important to accept and understand and actually embrace and celebrate differences. And that's something that is really important just generally in society, but particularly for rare diseases. People are dealing with a lot. They're dealing with being unwell, various kind of health implications and fears for how conditions are going to progress, having tolerance for what those things are, having tolerance for, as I mentioned, the fatigue aspect, and what people are able to commit themselves to. That's something I think is really important for people to understand. Not all illnesses are visible, and it's just being tolerant of others and what struggles they may be dealing with that you just have no idea of.
So thank you for answering questions kind of a bit about you and your experience of living with lipodystrophy. I'm going to ask you a few questions about the charity now. What made you start Lipodystrophy UK?
So when I was first diagnosed with lipodystrophy when I was 17, the first question I had was, is there a support group? Is there other people I can speak to? Because, I wanted to understand the condition. I wanted to understand what other people's experiences were. But unfortunately, there there wasn't such an organisation, there was nothing available. So what I did instead is I asked the clinicians at Addenbrooke's Hospital in Cambridge, specifically Professor Sir Stephen O'Reilly, if I could provide him a letter that was addressed to other patients, and he would pass that on. And then if those patients would like to contact me, then they could. Obviously, he couldn't provide those contact details, so it kind of needed to be done through a third party in that way. And I was really lucky that several people actually got in touch with me on the back of that letter. And I'm still in contact with those people today. And we developed really strong friendships. We shared stories and experiences. We shared information about what helped, what worked, what didn't work. And also just having that support as someone who gets it, someone who understands what you're going through. And for a number of years, we continued with that. Myself and another member of that small group put together a website, our original website, which had a forum as an opportunity for people to come together and talk. And on the back of that, we organised meetups and various things. And it was really good. We had a small community of people that, you know, shared experience and supported each other. And then as time went on, I worked with Addenbrooke's Hospital to organise patient support days, in which patients would have a day to come to the hospital where the clinicians, the researchers and other personnel in the clinical team would be available to give a brief presentation, answer the questions, the kind of things that you either don't have time to ask in clinic appointments or you don't think about until after the appointment, and you know, give that opportunity for question and answer and feedback, and then also an opportunity for people to meet others with the condition, both patients and carers, so that they could understand, you know, struggles that they were going through and share experiences. And I think actually that is the biggest benefit from those meetings is the contact with other people. And I did that for a number of years, in collaboration with Addenbrooke's. And then after a time, I felt that, you know, we were really at the limit of how we could help people. And actually, in order to be able to help people more and support them in a better way, we needed to kind of formalize what we were doing. And so that's when I decided that the charity route was the way to go. So it took quite a bit of time to get that organized. It got a great board of trustees together, and you know, all the paperwork, etc., that needs to be done in order to sign up with the Charity Commission. And then Lipodystrophy UK was born. And you know, I think that one of the biggest impacts that we have as a charity is being that contact for people, that place of support, of guidance, and an opportunity for others to come together and meet other people that are going through a lot of the same things as they are, and provide support and care for each other.
What are your visions for Lipodystrophy UK in the next 5 years?
Oh, so that's quite exciting. So there's a number of different things that we want to do, and some of which we're kind of on the road to doing already, which is really exciting. I think one of the things that is mentioned time and time again by patients as being missing in terms of their clinical support is the need to have psychological support for patients and carers that are struggling with this condition. And there are lots of aspects of the condition that give rise to having quite a negative impact on mental health and well-being. And I think it would be really, really beneficial for people to have proper regular psychological support when required, that is actually tailored towards diagnosis of lipodystrophy, because unfortunately like with other specialities, there's not many psychologists as well as other clinicians that have ever heard of lipodystrophy, let alone understand the complexities of what come with it. And actually there's some very specific aspects of the condition that really trouble people, and it would really benefit them to have psychological team of experts that understand what those struggles are and can help them in a very specific way. So that is something that we are advocating for, and trying really hard to work with Addenbrooke's and other stakeholders to be able to provide for patients. We also are really keen on research. So I think it's really important to understand the condition as best as we can, but also to research treatment options, potentially at the moment, a cure is not really something that is achievable, but maybe in the future with the development of genomic technology that might be possible. But certainly in the interim, we need more treatment options. There are very few treatments available, most of which are only managing symptoms rather than dealing with the root cause, and as a result are not the most effective at helping to manage the condition. So being able to investigate those things and also investigate those aspects which are important to patients, I think that's really crucial as well, because often there is quite a lot of academic research going on to understand on a scientific level what's happening, and that is really important, and I encourage as much of that kind of research to happen as possible. But by the same token, that kind of research is often not the kind of research that will impact patients in a real way. And so I think it's really important to make sure that the kind of things that patients are concerned about are addressed in these kinds of research programs. We also want to ensure, and again, this is something we are currently working on, that we have the right kind of collaborations, both with regional specialist centres, as well as obviously the National Severe Insulin Resistance Clinic at Addenbrooke's, which is the National Specialist Centre for treatment of lipodystrophy, but also European-wide, globally, both with the clinicians, the researchers, and patient groups, because lipodystrophy is classed as an ultra rare condition. There are very few people across the globe with this condition, and so it can sometimes be really difficult to have a strong voice, which is why organising ourselves in a charity and hopefully in global collaborations really gives weight to that voice and allows us to shout louder and hopefully get the attention and the support that we need. And then in addition to that, our main aim not only is to make sure that people are getting timely and effective diagnoses, correctly, not getting misdiagnosed, not being pushed from pillar to post and different specialisms and just not getting anywhere. We want people to get diagnosed in an effective and a timely manner, but also there is a large cohort for some types of lipodystrophy that we suspect are going undetected and undiagnosed. And I think by raising awareness of lipodystrophy within the medical community, it will really help identifying those patients that have been mislabeled, misdiagnosed with something else, and therefore not getting the proper support. And then the overall aim of the charity, which is something we do and will continue to do, is advocacy. It's advocating for our patients, our community, our carers, and also providing support to those within our community, both in terms of advice and contact details for relevant specialists. And I do that for patients from across the world. I get emails coming in from, recently I had an email from someone in Libya asking for a local specialist, and I was able to help them with that, and that is fantastic. And then also on a more local level, being able to provide help for patients looking for specialists in their area, and also provide the platform where the community can speak to each other and share advice and support and camaraderie. And so that's where I see ourselves, is continuing to fight for our patients, advocate for the best healthcare and standardized healthcare so that everybody's getting the same level of care. And awareness throughout both the medical and the community and the general public.
And what would you say is the biggest achievement to date for Lipodystrophy UK?
So there are lots of things I'm really proud of that we've done as a charity, but the one that sticks out the most is working with all the stakeholders involved in the approval of a new drug called metreleptin, or Myolepta, which is a drug that is replacing a hormone that's missing in or very low level in patients with lipodystrophy, because it's a hormone that's produced by fat cells. It's called leptin, and of course with lipodystrophy means a loss of fat cells, and that is to various degrees depending on whether it's partial or generalized lipodystrophy. And so patients in our community have very low levels or no levels of leptin within their bloodstream, and that has massive knock-on implications for their metabolic health, one of which is the hunger, the hyperphagia I mentioned earlier, but by far not the only impact of the lack of leptin. And we have worked for, it must be over 3 years now, 3.5 years, really hard fighting and advocating for our patients, being in discussions with NICE, with the pharmaceutical company, with Addenbrooke's Hospital, to push and make the patient voice heard, and eventually, thankfully, got a positive result where NICE have approved metreleptin for treatment of lipodystrophy in England. So that is really exciting. That is something we've worked so hard for so long. It is the only medical intervention treatment currently available that is specific for lipodystrophy. It is a major win for our patients, our community, and I'm really proud to have been part of that. But that's not the end of the story. You know, it is currently the only drug available, and we need more treatment options. And so, you know, part of our role is to keep fighting for that, and that is what we intend to do.
Is there anything else you'd like to add? Do you feel I've not covered anything, or is there anything you can think of?
I think, again, it's reiterating the point I made earlier about, you know, raising awareness and people having a tolerance and understanding and compassion for people, and to help us promote lipodystrophy and the difficulties that people with lipodystrophy struggle with, but also the strengths that they have and the wonderful things that they bring to the table and they offer to a wider community, and to help us celebrate and raise awareness of lipodystrophy by supporting us on World Lipodystrophy Day, which is March the 31st, and raising your L for lipodystrophy, and sharing the message and supporting us. And yeah, that's about it, I think.
Great, thank you. I'm going to throw you off guard a little bit, because I just wanted to say thank you so much, because you have made such a difference to so many people's lives. I can obviously speak for myself. I was completely alone. I was alienated. I was frightened, and I found the charity and we did a meetup, and I suddenly just didn't feel alienated anymore, and I feel so included in a community of people I truly care about. And I see how much you care for everyone in this community and how hard you work. I think about it so much, and I really thank you from the bottom of my heart for everything you do for the charity. And I hope I don't upset you by saying this, but I know I speak for everyone. You work tirelessly, so hard, and you put often put the charity before your own needs. And I'm really, really grateful, because I wouldn't be sat here today talking to you, talking passionate about things that impact us both and impact so many people. So thank you so much. I really, really appreciate everything you do.
Thank you so much, Becky. That really does mean a lot to me, because at the end of the day, that's what I'm fighting for, is for that acceptance and understanding and supporting other people who are going through the same thing. And thank you, that really does mean a lot.
That's okay. And if anything else, it's nice that I've made friends as a personal person joining, kind of finding the charity. So that's always a really nice added bonus as well.
Definitely. I've definitely, one of the most important aspects I feel from the work that I've done is building some wonderful friendships with people that I never would have met if it wasn't for lipodystrophy and for the charity, and some really special people in my life that I'm really grateful for. So I think in terms of support groups and charities, that is one of the most important aspects, is that community, is that kind of shared experience that it really gives value to people. So thank you.
No worries. Thank you so much for your time, Becky, as well. Great.
You're welcome.